Hi there, and welcome to AWS Summit Online, Startup Session, Build a Data-Driven Go-to-Market Strategy with AWS. I'm Heath Milligan, Senior Account Manager for Startups at AWS New Zealand. For the past 20 years, until January last year when I joined AWS, I've been working in startups across New Zealand, the US, Central Europe and Japan, in some cases as a founder, and in others as the head of sales or head of marketing. Since 2014, I've been investing in startups through Flying Kiwi Angels, an angel investor group in Auckland, and Global from Day One Fund 2, a Series A venture fund spanning New Zealand and Taiwan. Joining us today is Daryl Groman, Principal Partner Development Manager at AWS New Zealand. He looks after the ISV, Independent Software Vendor Partners in New Zealand, and has had global experience across consulting partners, telcos, and ISVs. At AWS, Daryl works with our ISV partners on their go-to-market strategies to grow their businesses by employing our mechanisms to introduce Kiwi and Aussie software companies to AWS's enterprise and public sector customers globally. So who is this session for? Well, if you're interested in building a SaaS recurring revenue business model that drives profit and will be investable so you can raise capital, it's for you. It's not a particularly technical session. Why is AWS talking about this? Well, if we help you grow your business, it grows our business. In SaaS, software as a service, normally a percentage of your top-line revenue flows through to your cost to serve. Do also lean on your AWS account team to help you optimize that percentage so you can be competitive in market. Right, so what will we cover? First, considering what journey you're on with your business. Will you be looking to raise capital? We'll define the terms we use when calculating the economics of your business model. Customer lifetime value, how much is each customer worth to you on average over time? We'll look at ways to calculate your acquisition costs across different marketing channels so you can consider which options are right for your business. Then Daryl will walk us through how some local startups have employed AWS Marketplace as a channel to market and how that works. Finally, a word on how you'll track and measure your efforts so you can optimize over time. If your startup is at an early stage, searching for product market fit and scaling your team rapidly to service demand, perhaps you've heard of Neeraj Agrawal's original February 2015 post in which he discussed T2D3, triple, triple, double, 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 the path that Salesforce, Zendesk, NetSuite, Marketo and others appeared to follow, in hindsight, to $100 million of annual revenue. Once you're over $50 million in ARR, annual recurring revenue, Brad Feld's rule of 40% for a healthy SaaS company may become more relevant, as you increase your focus on profitability as well as growth rate. His point basically was that the trailing 12-month growth rate percent and profit percent should sum to more than 40. Most of the startups I deal with day to day aren't at this scale yet, but it's good to have that future journey in mind. Are you looking to raise more venture capital? If so, also see the session here on the AWS Summit Online titled Preparing for Raising Seed and Series A Investment. Or is an IPO your path? Do you expect to be acquired in a trade sale as a product or feature? Any which way, to get there, growing top-line revenue sustainably and at a high rate will help you with that future. When you're at an earlier stage, we need to focus on the unit economics of getting and growing customers. Just quickly, in case any of these terms are unfamiliar, though most should be if you're in a recurring revenue startup business. CAC, customer acquisition cost. You want to get a lower number, so it's easier to earn a return on those relationships. Average revenue per account, your MRR, monthly recurring revenue. Lifetime value. We'll show calculations on the next few slides. With churn, remember that's the average across years of both active cancellations and passive failures to renew. Particularly important if you sign annual subscriptions, perhaps if you're selling B2B, business to business. Gross margin, and keep in mind the inverse relationship with cost to serve. Which profile of customers adopt your product and are the most profitable for you over time? Finally, customer retention cost. Are all your customers worth keeping? Which customers or projects are the easiest for you to win and to repeat? You've probably seen this calculation already. Average monthly revenue per account divided by monthly churn rate. But I prefer to also multiply that by gross margin, so we're conscious of your cost to serve. That's one of the things I find amazing about being at AWS, actually. We have so many people obsessed with your success long term, not trying to drive maximum spend from you this year. And there are innovations coming out of the woodwork, left, right, and center, to help you run cost efficiently. Whether it's serverless compute and databases, or custom hardware to drive better price performance. Why? Well, gross margin dollars in the door each month is what we need in your business to build your business. This next calculation, proposed by David Skok on forentrepreneurs.com, is less obvious at first, but really important for B2B or enterprise SaaS businesses, where you may have a starting contract subscription, an initial or landing MRR, and you aim to land and expand in each account as they add more users over time. This model allows for linear subscription growth in each account, which can even result in negative net revenue churn. That's growth. Your best accounts grow their spend faster with you than the revenue lost due to customers that churn out. For those of you inclined to dive deep on modeling this for your business, on David's blog there's a link to a spreadsheet, so you can apply a discount rate to future cash flows as well, and consider the cost of revenue expansion. Account managers who, yes, will probably still expect to be paid base salaries by your startup. Unfortunately, they may not be willing to work on a commission-only model just yet. Great. So you have a prospective business customer that'll be worth something like $100K to you over time. But what are the ways you're getting those customers in the first place? Customer acquisition costs. This is where we need to be really honest with ourselves as founders or heads of sales and marketing. Let's keep it simple and not go down the theoretical optimum calculation of each team member's time strictly attributed. I've seen some startups calculate down to minutes, when none of us as humans are really that efficient in our day-to-day work. Simply put, it's the total costs of the sales and marketing activity for each stage of your sales process divided through by the number of customers that result. This figure can vary widely across different routes to market. If you're a bit concerned now because your customer acquisition cost is in reality thousands of dollars, that may be okay, provided your customer lifetime value is greater, ideally 3 times or more greater, and your payback period on each customer is within a reasonably financeable time frame, normally within 12 months, unless you have very sticky customer relationships with deep onboarding required and patient investors behind you. Beyond customer acquisition, remember to retain your base. Monitor and keep churn to a minimum. High churn affects your lifetime value calculations, as discussed earlier, and it's a warning sign to investors that your product and revenue aren't sticky, which doesn't help your valuation or capital raising prospects. It usually costs less to keep a client and grow their spend with you than to win a new client. So accounting for customer success and account management, this gives you a deeper insight than gross margin as we defined earlier. I'll keep on referring to margin in this presentation because in startups, we don't want all the business out there, just all the profitable business. Especially if your customers are on an annual or longer purchasing cycle, or an annual subscription renewal, we don't want that passive churn creeping in. So think about your mechanisms for renewals. Sometimes credit card payments aren't the most reliable way, as cards expire and individuals move on from your customers' businesses. Defining your sales channel model. I encourage you to use these to do a worked example using your own numbers. These are just to illustrate. We're looking for efficient ways to engage new customers, so a lower dollar amount is better for your business. COVID travel restrictions have required us to reinvent how we go to market. I mean, which of us flew to the US to attend a conference or trade show after February last year? Nevertheless, hopefully we can plan to engage customers again in that way in years to come, presuming your calculations stack up compared with your other options. You'll likely still have a sales and customer success team. Within that, do you have specialized roles for demand generation, lead development, business development hunters, and account managers, like in the predictable revenue model proposed by Aaron Ross, ex-Salesforce.com? What's the cost of each role versus how many customers they acquire, or how much revenue expansion they can generate from your existing customers? After their ramp-up period, is each role contributing more gross margin dollars each year than their total loaded cost to your business? Ideally, this happens within the same year, but at least projected over the lifetime value of those customers. Are some team members actually covering for parts of your onboarding or activation process that really should be smoothed out and automated in your product? Paid online will likely still be a relevant part of your marketing mix. Looking at conversion rates at each stage is beyond the scope of this talk, and there are loads of online marketing pros that'll be better placed to talk on it than me. Here, I'm talking about the end result, in number of paying customers, net of all the conversion rates through each stage in your HubSpot or other analytics. If you sell your product through resellers or system integrators, perhaps the cost of supporting them isn't much on average, with your channel sales rep covering a handful or more partners, but those partners will expect 20 to 30 points of margin at a guess. Does your gross margin percentage still meet your and your investors' expectations if you grant that reseller margin? And are those partners able to identify and develop new customer relationships for your product, or are they better suited to fulfillment and servicing? Finally, have you considered engaging AWS as a reseller of your software? Here to explore this is Daryl Groman, Principal Partner Development Manager at AWS New Zealand, who has worked with dozens of our startup and ISV customers over the past year to acquire new customers via AWS Marketplace. Daryl.
Fantastic. Thanks a million, Heath. The Amazon Partner Network and AWS Marketplace provide significant incentives to help take your products and services global, to reduce customer acquisition costs, as well as to rapidly help you develop new functions and features in your software. We've seen many partners get to market internationally by what I like to call the AWS halo effect. So, if your target buyer is in core enterprise IT for infrastructure or security applications, there's obviously a really strong fit with AWS's core customer base and partner ecosystem. If your target buyer is in a line of business, especially across some of our entrenched verticals, once again, there's a strong fit for APN and Marketplace. So we can judge together whether the Amazon Partner Network and AWS Marketplace are a good fit for your business. It helps us immensely if you have your sales strategy defined. Firstly, we need to know, is your sales strategy a global or regional focus? Will you sell in one or many countries? Okay. Then, what is the type and size of your target customer? Are you looking for the enterprise segment? Are you an SMB offering? Are you public sector and government? Understand who your size and target customer will be. Then, is your sales model direct, or is it channel-based, or is it a hybrid? You might be direct in certain markets where you have got presence. You might have a channel focus in markets where you don't have presence and you're going to have channel partners. Then, which industry or use case values your product the most? Even some organizations that say they have a horizontal product may be more valued by certain industry verticals. Understand also who your target buyer role is. What person inside of an organization do you want to target? Then purchasing cycles. Do you understand what the purchasing cycle of your product looks like? Is it on the back of hardware contracts that are expiring, or any other type of activities in an organization? Do you have established procurement channels that your product will usually fit in? Sometimes you might want to disrupt those channels, but at least have knowledge of what that looks like. And then lastly, do you need someone on the ground, in person, to close the deal? Do you need to press the flesh to get that final deal on the table and closed? So, before we go to Marketplace, I want to talk about another few things on the menu from APN. The first thing that we have is we want to co-innovate with you. We want you to bring new and clever products and features to market as quickly as you possibly can. So what we want to do is reduce your cost of that innovation cycle. And for that, what we've got is what we call innovation or sandbox credits to help you out. In addition to that, we have immersion days and access to some of our global experts. Just ask us. I'm sure that we can fit your need. The second thing is co-market. We want to help you get your brand as well as your product out into global markets. Our MDF is there to do exactly that for you. So speak to your AWS account rep about the way that MDF can actually help you with your marketing programs. Co-sell. Co-sell is really important for us. Co-sell enables you as an ISV to put an opportunity into the APN and have it flow directly into the account team of your target customer, who will then help you close your deal. You can't get better than that by enabling everybody in AWS field sales to actually help you sell your product. We also have things like channel blueprints and pricing assistance if you need it. APN can also help reduce the onboarding costs associated to new customers. Sometimes customers will look at the upfront investment needed to bring them onto your software platform. And what we're here to do is provide things like what we call POA funding, Partner Opportunity Acceleration funding, so that we can reduce any cost objections for onboarding. We're also here with technology and training assistance, as well as architecture assistance. So speak to your account manager for all of those components for APN. Now, before we go to Marketplace, also, please go and see another session that we've got at our online summit called 5 Ways AWS Helps Software Businesses Grow. I guarantee it's going to be a pretty valuable session. And then there's Marketplace. Marketplace is here to help you sell your product globally. The main aim of AWS Marketplace is to decrease customer acquisition costs, specifically your costs of doing business. Selling your product to AWS customers, enabling your product to be bought via Marketplace, and build on a customer's AWS bill can really short-circuit the budgeting, procurement, vendor onboarding, and negotiation time it takes to complete a transaction. Our one partner, Raygun, was notified of a Marketplace trial that was downloaded by a UK customer. Within 24 hours, the new customer, their AWS account manager, and Raygun were already on a call. Within 1 week, the customer had run a trial and purchased. Now, how's that for acquisition cost reduction? No local entities needed, no tax implications, no having to onboard into the buyer's procurement systems. So, Marketplace is AWS method to help sell your product internationally, whether it's perpetual, subscription licensing, or anything in between. So, with Marketplace, you can turn your AWS field sales teams into an extension of your own sales force. Please remember that your AWS public offer, this is the pricing and this is the main blurb that gets seen by everybody who can look at Marketplace, right, is your shop window. Please make that shop window count. We also know that most larger B2B products will only be sold via private offer. This is a custom deal between you and an end customer. It can contain specific provisions and special pricing. Okay? Private pricing offers are the ways that most or a lot of our B2B businesses will engage with you on Marketplace. Also, we have a channel program with Marketplace through our consulting partners called CPPO, Consulting Partner Private Offer. This is the way that you can make your offer available via channel partners to your end customers, so nobody is cut out of the loop. Just being on Marketplace isn't a substitute for a good go-to-market program. We can help you transact, but you still need to generate awareness and demand for your product. Now, APN Marketplace as well as APN have multiple GTM marketing blueprints that you can apply to your business. Just have a look on the APN website. Now, a couple of examples of our partners who have done really well on Marketplace. The first one is people dear to my heart, the team at Raygun. They launched on Marketplace in April 2020. They've had 44 customer reviews on there already. They have got 3 CPPO partnerships, some partners actually building managed services around their product. They have an international customer base right now, and they have 7 opportunities that have just been created this month. Another of our partners, Arcanum. They provide AI/ML frameworks. They were launched in April 2020 as well. They have had 38 opportunities already in 2021, and they have more than 8 custom projects now underway. And then the Rockstars of Australia, Local Measure. These guys also launched in April 2020. They've got more than 5 closed customers now. An additional one we think is closing this week in the UK. And they've got more than 40 opportunities across multiple regions that are sitting in the partner portal at the moment. So well done to those 3 organizations. You've done a great job, and thank you very much for engaging so tightly with us. So finally from me, you can self-onboard onto Marketplace if you've got a really good technical or product management team. You can also engage one of our partners to assist. Please speak to our friends at iTalk or Lancom, who are our SaaS competency partners in both Australia and New Zealand. So, lock in your place in AWS Marketplace, partner with us in APN, and now back to Heath to quickly discuss how to manage and monitor.
Thanks, Daryl. Right, so tracking it. Obviously, if you have a sales team, I hope you have a modern CRM system in place. For small teams, Pipedrive and HubSpot CRM are great options. In your CRM system, consciously define the stages of your sales process for your customer's typical purchase decision cycle. What counts as a qualified opportunity versus a lead or prospect? Do you need to offer a trial? How long would you expect that to take? What conversion rate to paid user do you expect? Then do you need to do a proposal? Does someone else, other than your primary user, have to sign off on the purchase? Is there a lengthy procurement and contracting stage you often see? Perhaps that's a stage AWS Marketplace could help accelerate. Is there an integration and onboarding stage before you count it as won or launched? If you have a primarily digital route to market, the time and state change tracking can be more automated. How? Well, a way to get external events into CloudWatch is through webhooks. If you're familiar with these, essentially you set up an API gateway with a Lambda serverless compute function connected to a path. For example, webhook.yourwebsite.com/Stripe for Stripe, or /Recurly, or whatever system you use for payments. And they'll send events to that URL when they occur. Often, you use that to take some action, such as mark an item as paid in an e-commerce site, or a subscription as cancelled, or the appropriate action for the event. But additionally, you can publish these payment events to CloudWatch as an event, which can be used with CloudWatch metrics to give some business context to your cloud activity. For example, let's say you have a SaaS product that does some heavy crunching of data for each customer project. With the webhook capturing each purchase event and using some cost allocation tags in CloudWatch, you can build a dashboard showing data like your AWS cloud cost to serve versus the revenue received. How would that knowledge influence which types of customers and which types of projects you prioritize doing more of going forward? If you're looking to raise capital, it will help you a lot during due diligence to be able to articulate which sales channels you have validated, the customer acquisition cost through each, and how that compares to your lifetime value. Again, ideally you'll make 3 times or more gross margin from those customers over time than the cost to acquire them, and pay back each customer relationship within 12 months. Also be prepared to explain how you're measuring churn and what annual subscription rollovers you've already experienced to validate the stickiness of your product and revenue. Different angel investors and VCs have different bars for what they accept as validation and different comfort bands for pre-money valuation. Even when 1, 2, 3 or more turn you down, take on their feedback and concerns and keep pitching to others. Showing progress and going back to those same investors to demonstrate that you listened, integrated their concerns, tested some strategies, learned and grew will help you earn trust with those prospective investors. Finally, I call out to always be learning and growing in your capability as an entrepreneur and to grow your team's skills. There are a bunch of resources online from AWS training and certification, and I encourage you to make good use of those. See aws.com/training for all the details. Thanks for watching. If you found this session useful, we'd sure appreciate some feedback via the survey. Whether you're already engaged with AWS as your platform provider today or not, we're always keen to have a conversation on how we can support your business to grow and create jobs locally here in Australia and New Zealand. Do get in touch.